Tony Pure, DAP National Publicity Secretary, and Member of Parliament for Petaling, Jaya Utara. 1MDB Conference on Land Acquisition.
I think you all have received the statement. Probably have a first look at the statement. Reason why I'm calling a press conference is there are a lot of little technical details in the statement, so just in case anyone doesn't understand, I'm happy to explain. Let me first read out the statement on 1MDB's latest land acquisition, which raises many questions which needs to be answered by 1MDB. 1MDB needs to answer because it is not a private company. It is a company that is 100% owned and financed by the government, and that means it's our taxpayers' money, and hence it must be accountable to the ordinary rakyat. Tatmax Resources Berhad, or Tatmax, had announced last Friday that the company had on 20th of February 2014 entered into a share sale agreement with Ivory Merge Sdn Berhad to dispose of 310 acres of land for 317,334,600 ringgit to be satisfied entirely in cash, basically pay cash. The land is held via its wholly owned subsidiary, Tatmax Power, TPSB, and is part of a 379 acres piece of vacant land bearing the master title PN 7375 Lot 72779 located in Pulau Indah, Klang, Selangor. So the whole piece of land owned by Tatmax is actually part of 379 acres. They are selling 310 acres of this piece of land. Tatmax, for those who are not familiar with the name, is formerly known as Wijaya Baru Global Berhad. That may ring a bell. While TPSB was formerly known as Wijaya Baru Development Sdn Berhad prior to November 2013. The group was infamous for their complicity in the 12.5 billion ringgit PKFZ scandal, which has caused massive losses for the Malaysian government. Kuala Dimensi Sdn Berhad is a subsidiary of Wijaya Baru Global Berhad Tatmax, and Kuala Dimensi Sdn Berhad was appointed as the turnkey developer by Port Klang Authority for the PKFZ project. KDSB Kuala Dimensi also sold the controversial 753 acres piece of land in Pulau Indah to Port Klang Authority at the astronomical price of 1.09 billion in 2004. So Wijaya Baru Group and its subsidiaries were infamous for their involvement with the PKFZ scandal, where land was sold to the government at very high prices, for which both the former transport ministers Tun Lee Leok Sek as well as Tan Sri Chan Kong Choi were charged in court but subsequently acquitted. At the same time, Wijaya Baru Global and its other subsidiaries were appointed as main and subcontractors to the project. KDSB and Tatmax are both embroiled in legal disputes with PKA, currently still unresolved, while certain officers of both companies are being prosecuted for fraud by the Attorney General over the PKFZ fiasco. Tatmax's single largest shareholder was then, at that point in time, was Datuk Sri Tiong King Sing, the Barisan Nasional MP for Bintulu and formerly the Backbenchers Chairman, who was also the Chief Executive Officer of Kuala Dimensi. He has, however, sold his 30.15% equity in Tatmax in 2011 and holds only a 5.53% interest in the company today. The directors of Tatmax includes its chairman, Datuk Sri Abdul Azim Zabidi, the former treasurer for UMNO, and its chief executive officer, Datuk Faizal Abdullah, who is the deputy chairman for UMNO Kapar Division. It was announced on Bursa Malaysia that Datuk Faizal had bought an additional 6.735 million shares of Tatmax 2 months ago between 9th to 12th December 2013 at an average price of 34.5 cents per share to increase his stake in the company to 17.8 million shares or 4.78%. Since the announcement of the above sale, the price of Tatmax closed at 60.5 cents as of 21st of February 2014. So he has made good money. Ivory Merge, on the other hand, the party that bought that piece of land, is a wholly owned subsidiary of 1MDB Real Estates Sdn Bhd, which in turn is a wholly owned subsidiary of One Malaysia Development Berhad, Malaysia's controversial sovereign wealth fund. Based on the above facts, several questions must be asked of 1MDB. Number one, 1MDB is currently heavily in debt, with an estimated burden of more than 30 billion ringgit. It is also currently pursuing two mega property projects in Tun Razak Exchange and Bandar Malaysia, for both these projects 1MDB is I wouldn't say desperately, I won't use that word, perhaps aggressively seeking to raise additional debt. We would like to find out why 1MDB saw it as suddenly crucial to invest in a piece of land in Pulau Indah for 317 million ringgit. Okay. Number two, is 1MDB aware of the fact that the same piece of land purchased at 23 ringgit 50 cents per square feet, so basically at 317 million, if you divide by 310 acres, that gives you 23 ringgit 50 cents per square feet, okay, was last valued at 9 ringgit 93 cents in August 2011. Less than 2.5 years ago, a valuation was conducted on this piece of land by Tatmax, and the valuation then was only 9 ringgit 93 cents. Okay. While a new valuation was indeed carried out prior to the above sale in January this year, the question must be asked as to how the value of the vacant land increased by a massive 136.7% in less than 2.5 years. This is a fantastic increase in value. For years, the value did not increase since the land was acquired by Wijaya Baru in 1999. Then suddenly, the value increased from 9 ringgit 93 cents to 23 ringgit 50 cents. The above questions are additionally pertinent because the Age Financial Daily yesterday reported with a headline, "Land Sale Timely for Tatmax." In the story, Datuk Faizal admitted the sale will ease the debt burden of the company, which has only 124,000 in cash reserves, okay, but with borrowings of 220.5 million ringgit as at September 2013. So they had cash of 124,000, they had debts of 220 million, okay, as at September 2013. Tatmax is bleeding financially with a net loss of 8.5 million on a revenue of only 3.5 million over the same period. Okay, there are serious governance concerns over 1MDB's real estate adventures, where it is given federal government land at massive discounts. I'll deal with this another time, but basically they get very cheap land from the government, but it will fund richly valued private land acquisitions with debt. So although I can get cheap land from government, I will pay good money for private land, and I will borrow money to pay for this. Given the history of Tatmax and its legal entanglements with the government authorities and the state of its financial affairs, as well as the sudden increase in valuation of the transacted land, 1MDB must immediately assure Malaysian taxpayers that this is not a bailout for Tatmax and its shareholders. Okay, I've attached 3 pages. The first 2 pages are 2 pages of the info memo with regards to the acquisition of land by Tatmax, by Ivory Merge from Tatmax. This is announced on Bursa Malaysia. The whole document is about more than 10 pages. I printed the first 2 pages. You can download the full document from Bursa Malaysia website if you want, but the key details are actually in the first 2 pages. The third page is from the annual report. Third page is from the annual report of Tatmax, page 113. If you look at the second item, title number 7375, lot 72779, you see that the existing value, the use is vacant. It's a 99-year lease expiring on 2096. There's no building on it. The carrying value, which is the valuation done, 163,860,000. The valuation was done on 4th of August 2011. 163,860,000 divided by 379 acres, you will get 9 ringgit 93 cents per square feet. Okay, so the valuation was carried out in August 2011, but a new valuation carried out in January 2014 involves a 237% increase in valuation.